The sixth Democratic debate will feature Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Andrew Yang, Amy Klobuchar, and Tom Steyer. The debate will be held on December 19th in Los Angeles, hosted by PBS NewsHour and Politico, and will air on Politico.com, PBS.com, and CNN.com. While this will be the last debate of 2019, monthly debates are planned to continue through February, when they will occur more frequently until April of 2020. With just 7 candidates participating, the December debate will have the fewest people on stage yet, a welcome change for many viewers. Part of the reason for this is the withdrawal of Kamala Harris from the primary race, who would have made the debate stage. Higher standards for this debate also contributed, preventing Booker, Castro, Bloomberg, Williamson, Bennett, Delaney, and Patrick from participating. In order to be invited, candidates needed to receive donations from at least 200,000 unique donors, with at least 820 states, territories, or the District of Columbia. They were also required to meet a polling threshold of at least 6% in 2 or more DNC-approved polls conducted in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, or South Carolina, or at least 4% in 4 or more DNC-approved polls in early nominating states or nationwide. Tulsi Gabbard was on the cusp of qualifying for the debate, just 1 poll away, when she tweeted on December 9th that she would not attend. In this video, I'll talk about each of the participating candidates and some of the events unfolding around the primary race, to hopefully give you some sense of an answer to the question, what's going to happen? First, let's talk about the non-participation of Tulsi Gabbard. I've always found her to be one of the most exciting candidates to watch on stage, so it's a little disappointing to see her skip out. It also seems like a tactical error. Viewership for the debates have been steadily declining since June, but these are still great opportunities to get your message out there, particularly if you're a lower polling candidate. I recently released a video about who I think should drop out of the primary race, and had I known that Gabbard was going to begin skipping debates, I probably would have included her on the list. She is highly unlikely to secure the nomination at this point. The only 2 reasons I can imagine to justify her continuing to run would be to affect the politics of the race by issuing strong attacks on major moderate candidates, or to affect the dialectic of the race by advocating her message about ending America's foreign policy of regime change through aggression. Failing to appear in debates works to nullify both of these ends. If she thinks she can have a bigger impact with campaign stops, she's sorely mistaken. The lowest rated debate so far still had nearly 8 million live viewers. She'd have to have quite the rally to compete with that. Without Tulsi Gabbard, Julian Castro, or Kamala Harris, all generally aggressive debaters, the event is also likely to be less filled with conflict than past debates. Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, who were relatively passive in early debates, are now likely to be the 2 biggest instigators on stage. Long shots also tend to be more volatile, which would put the aggression burden squarely on the shoulders of Tom Steyer, but so far he's demonstrated no interest or ability to take on the major candidates. Adding to the potentiality of a snooze fest, one topic that will likely be at issue during this debate are the recently released articles of impeachment issued against Donald Trump, which may even be voted on before the debate occurs. The Democratic-controlled House is likely to vote to impeach the president. In case you haven't been following closely, the Judiciary Committee has put forward 2 articles of impeachment. The first charge is abuse of power, alleging that Trump's efforts to persuade Ukraine to open an investigation into Joe Biden and his son, as well as the withholding of military aid whilst the request was issued, constitutes corrupt conduct in pursuit of personal political benefit. The second article of impeachment involves the president's alleged obstruction of Congress. It essentially boils down to Trump directing executive branch officials to not comply with lawful subpoenas issued by Congress, all relating to the Ukraine case. No articles of impeachment have been issued for other commonly alleged presidential abuses, including his alleged violation of the Emoluments Clause or obstruction of justice, for which the Mueller report clearly implies Trump could be impeached. Because impeachment occurs so rarely, this is historic stuff, and I highly recommend you read the articles of impeachment. But as far as the debate goes, this unavoidable topic will most certainly make for poor fodder. Every Democrat on stage supports impeachment. You can expect a bunch of time wasted so that the nation can watch 7 people agree with each other. So this debate is not likely to be packed with fire and venom, but there are some advantages to the current lineup. This will be the first debate in which the majority of candidates, 4 out of the 7, have a real chance to secure the nomination. The reality is that there are plausible paths to victory for Biden, Sanders, Warren, and Buttigieg, whereas no one else in the race is all that likely to win. So in this debate, we can expect to get more from the people who really count as serious contenders. This debate might also provide more of a chance for Andrew Yang to get some speaking time. While I don't see him as particularly likely to win the nomination, he is one of the most interesting candidates when it comes to policy ideas, and he has been recurrently ignored in past debates. While he's best known for his UBI policy, he's got a lot more to say, and I'm personally looking forward to hearing him elaborate on other issues. You aren't likely to see Yang clash with other candidates on stage, but if he finally gets the time a candidate of his stature deserves, you will likely hear about the plethora of policy positions he holds that you might only otherwise find on his website. Another candidate clearly advantaged by the current lineup is Amy Klobuchar. While she too has little chance of securing the nomination, appearing alongside the major candidates with few other minor candidates will give her the opportunity to advocate for herself as a viable alternative to Biden and Buttigieg for the moderate lane of the Democratic Party. Will she take advantage of the opportunity? I doubt it. She's likely to criticize the policies of Warren and Sanders, but without strong attacks issued against Biden or Buttigieg, it's hard to see how she'll steal away their supporters, and past performances suggest she's not willing to attack fellow moderates. Steyer, too, is deeply advantaged by his appearance alongside actual experienced politicians and candidates with ideas and grassroots support. With an RCP average of just 1.5%, he is the least popular to have made the stage. I frankly don't think he has any business appearing in this debate, and think this may be his last. He has every reason to try to make the most of the opportunity, but his past performances have been less than stellar. I don't expect to see much from Steyer aside from that Christmas tie, apparently the only one this billionaire owns. Pete Buttigieg, who was in the midst of a massive surge during the November debates, will be an interesting candidate to watch. He, for whatever reason, did not experience the same kind of pile-on that Warren did after polls showed her surging in late September and early October. Perhaps he will receive more pushback now, but the fact that he's begun to slide again might save him from an onslaught. On the other hand, some of the potential causes of his backslide might open him up for attack. Buttigieg has recently been under fire for his work at McKinsey, a global consultancy firm which has done some ethically dubious work in the past. For example, helping the Trump administration to detain and deport immigrants. While Pete insists he never did anything against his values with the firm, he's also made it clear that some of his work will remain a secret because of non-disclosure agreements that he's signed. Buttigieg has also been under fire for refusing to release the names of his fundraising bundlers, and for keeping his fundraising events for wealthy donors closed to the press. These issues both play into concerns for much of the grassroots of the Democratic Party, who appear to have growing concerns with the mayor's connections to power and big money. Warren echoed these concerns, telling a reporter, "It is even more important that candidates expose possible conflicts of interest right now. And that means, for example, that the mayor should be releasing who's on his finance committee, who are the bundlers who are raising big money for him, who he's given titles to and made promises to." Warren herself is in a growingly vulnerable place in the primary race. She recently slid into third place in the national polls and lost her leads in Iowa and New Hampshire. Her performances in the last couple of debates have been less gripping than those of early days, so she might want to bring something new to this one. It's possible she may bring her criticisms of Buttigieg and the press onto the debate stage. She might also find the opportunity to go after Bloomberg, who she recently, quite rightly I might add, criticized for attempting to buy the election. She's also recently unveiled a new plan called the Blue New Deal, a recommended addition to the Green New Deal, specifically focused on the world's oceans. Bernie Sanders is entering the December debate in incredible shape. He's returned to second place in the national polls and is quickly rising in Iowa and New Hampshire, as well as California. He recently picked up an endorsement from the progressive group Center for Popular Democracy Action, and recall, he still has the largest base of unflappable supporters, boasting the most donors in the race, mainly small dollar donors. With his bounce in the polls, the most aggressive candidates on stage, Klobuchar and Buttigieg, are likely to target him. Sure, there's not likely to be a lot of heat on stage, but what heat there will likely be turned on him. For most candidates, that would be worrisome. But for Sanders, it's a blessing. Bernie is not particularly adept at picking fights with rivals, but when attacked, he tends to counter to great effect. Worst comes to worse, he'll avoid getting attacks, which will give him a chance to elaborate on policy, like his new plan to turn the internet into a public utility. He might also rail against the second billionaire to enter the 2020 Democratic primary and make subtle distinctions between himself and Biden and himself and Warren. These all seem to be ideal circumstances for Bernie Sanders. While Joe Biden has lost a lot of ground in the earliest states, he undoubtedly remains the frontrunner in the national polling and has a strong enough grip on Nevada, South Carolina, and many of the Super Tuesday states. As such, he is a huge beneficiary of the December debate lineup. Since Biden's lead means he should be hoping for an uneventful night, he's no doubt comforted by the fact that the most aggressive debaters are gone, as are the long shots with nothing to lose. The only downside to the smaller lineup for Biden is that he will likely have to talk for longer than he has in previous debates. Both long before and during the primary race, Biden has been known as a gaffe machine. His advisors are likely worried that if he talks for too long, they won't know what will come out of his mouth. But we do know what will go in it: his foot. Of course, Biden has done plenty to make a mockery of his campaign without the need for another debate. He made the strange gamble that the new catchphrase, "no malarkey," would help his campaign catch fire. He also had a strange confrontation with an 83-year-old man who accused Biden of selling access to the president through his son. Biden called the man a liar, told him he's too old to vote for him, and challenged him to a push-up contest and an IQ test. No word yet as to whether Biden plans to repaint the side of his bus to read "some malarkey." So far, Biden's increasingly odd behavior and his increasingly strange diatribes during debates have not shaken his national poll numbers. Could this be the breaking point, or will Democrats continue to cling to him as firmly as Trump's supporters have backed him through countless odd displays? I don't know. Let me know what you think what's going to happen.
You want to check my shape on, let's do push-ups together, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do. Let's take it on the